Hey, good afternoon. We are doing the new book releases for the week of July 10th. As I promised last week, this one is much bigger and mostly fantasy. I'm Morgan. If this is your first time here, thank you for clicking on this video, and we are going to talk about some new book releases. There will be timestamps per genre, and I just hope you find something that you enjoy. Without more babbling than necessary, let's get into the list. The first one up is fantasy romance, The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramas. This one was the May Fairy Loot box. This one, though, is an elite spy and the Queen's third in command. Aya has dedicated herself to a life of discipline and duty, using her God's given ability to keep the dark magic from ever returning to the realm. Her oath ensures she will always act to protect those she fights alongside, including Will, the Queen's enforcer, and Aya's bitter rival. So he would be, I think, the first in command? Yeah, if I remember it. Forced by circumstances to work together, Aya and Will struggle to come to an uneasy truce. But when tragedy strikes, Aya instinctively reacts, unleashing a power that hasn't been seen for over 500 years. Shaken, she's confronted with an impossible truth, one that threatens the precious grip she keeps on her control. One that forces her to work with Will to discover who or what she really is. And one that could turn her into a weapon in a war she doesn't know how to win. With Will at her side and untold power at her fingertips, Aya will have to decide, has she been sent to save the realm she loves or destroy it? This one was quite an interesting read. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the series and to see how things play out and how the books will develop. The next one is Fantasy Thief Liar Lady by D.L. Soria. Happily Ever After is totally a scam, but at least this time the princess is the one controlling the grift, until her true love arrives and threatens to ruin the whole scheme. I'm not who you think I am. My transformation from a poor orphan scullery maid into the enchantingly mysterious lady who snagged the heart of the prince did not happen, as rumors insisted, in a magical metamorphosis of pumpkins and glass slippers. On the first evening of a ball, I didn't meekly help my evil stepmother and stepsisters primp or preen, or watch forlornly out the window as their carriage rolled off toward the palace. I had other preparations to make. My stepsisters and I had been trained for this, to be the cleverest in the room, to be quick with our hands and quicker with our lies. We were taught how to get everything we wanted in this world, everything men always kept for themselves: power, wealth, prestige. And with a touchingly tragic past and the help of some highly illegal spells, I would become a princess, secure our fortunes, and we would all live happily ever after. But there's always more to the story. It's like a Cinderella retelling with the twist that, she's not the helpless one. She's the one that schemed her way into the palace. Our next one is The Carnival of Curiosities by Amy Gibbs. In Victorian London, where traveling sideshows are the very pinnacle of entertainment, there is no more coveted ticket than Ash and Pretorius's Carnival of Curiosities. Each performance is a limited engagement, and London's elite boldly dare the dangerous streets of Southwark to witness the carnival's astounding assemblage of marvels. For a select few, however, the real show begins behind the curtain. Rumors abound about the show's proprietor, Aurelius Ash, is more than an average magician. It's said that for the right price, he can make any wish come true. No one knows the truth of this claim better than Lucian Lucifer, the carnival's star attraction. Born with the ability to create fire, he's dazzled spectators since he was a boy. When Odilon Rose, one of the most notorious men in London, comes calling with a proposition regarding his young and beautiful charge, Charlotte, Ash is tempted to refuse. After revealing, however, that Rose holds a secret that threatens the security of the troupe's most vulnerable members, Ash has no choice but to sign an insidious contract. The stakes grow higher as Lucian finds himself drawn to Charlotte and her to him, an attraction that spurs a perilous course of events. Grave secrets, recovered horrors, and what it means to be family come to a head in this vividly imagined spectacle, with the lives of all those suspended in the balance. Next, we have The Saint of Bright Doors by Vajra Chandaskera. I'm very sorry, because I know I mispronounced that. Possibly both names. This one I'd read about, but I wasn't sure if I wanted it to go on my anticipated. That's why it wasn't, because I'm not sure if I want to read it, because it's got aspects, but at the same time it's also got things that like I'm like, I might not like that. I don't know. But Federer was raised to kill, honed as a knife to cut down his sainted father. This gave him plenty to talk about in therapy. He walked among invisible powers, devils, anti-gods that mocked the mortal form. He learned a lethal catechism, lost his shadow, and gained a habit for secrecy. After a blood-soaked childhood, Federer escaped his rural hometown for the big city and fell into a broader world where divine destinies are a dime a dozen. Everything in Laureate is more than it seems. Group therapy is recruitment for a revolutionary cadre. Junk email hints at the arrival of a god. Every door is laden with potential, and once closed may never open again. The city is scattered with bright doors, looming portals through a cold wind blows. In this unknowable metropolis, Federer will discover what kind of man he is, and discovery will rewrite the world. I'm not sure if that's the same description I read last time. Next, we have the conclusion to the Covenant of Steel trilogy? Yes, trilogy, which is The Traitor by Anthony Ryan. So this one, the first book is born into a troubled kingdom of Albermain. Alwyn Scribe is raised an outlaw. Quick of wit and deft of blade, Alwyn is content with the freedom of the woods and the camaraderie of his fellow thieves, but an act of betrayal sets him on a new path, one of blood and vengeance, which eventually leads him to a soldier life in the king's army. And so that was the beginning of the first book, and then now we are here at the conclusion of the series, where he looks like he's on a battlefield surrounded by bodies. But it says he must make a difficult decide. That is what they said, a difficult decide between his heart and his morals as he prepares for his final battle. Okay, and then I think this might be a start to a new series, and that's The Judas Blossom by Stephen Aryan. 1260 Persia. Nope, Persia. 1260 Persia. Due to the efforts of the great Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire covers a vast portion of the known world. In the shadow of his grandfather, Holgian Khan, ruler of the Ilkhanate, is determined to create a single empire that covers the entire world. His method? Violence. His youngest son, Temujin Khan, struggles to find his place in his father's bloody rule. After another failure, Temujin is given one last chance to prove himself to Holgyo, who is sure there is a great warrior buried deep inside, but there's something else rippling under the surface, something far more powerful and dangerous than they could ever imagine. Reduced to the position of one of Hogyo's many wives, the famed Blue Princess Kokachin is the last of her tribe. Alone and forgotten in a foreign land, Kokachin is willing to spend her days seeking out She is unwilling to spend her days seeking out trivial pursuits. Seeking purpose, she finds herself wandering down a path that grants her more power than a wife of the Khan may be allowed. Kivan, the Persian rebel who despises the Mongols for the massacre of his people, thirsts for vengeance. However, he knows alone he cannot destroy the empire. When given the opportunity to train under the tutelage of Hogyon, Kivan must put aside his feelings and risk his life for a chance to destroy the empire that aims to conquer the world. Family and war collide in this thrilling and bloody reimagining of the Mongol Empire's invasion of Persia. So, yep, I really mispronounced almost every name there. And sorry. And then another start to a series. I think. Maybe. This could also be a standalone. It's called Ebony Gate, but I believe it's a series because it also says The Phoenix Horde. The Phoenix Horde. This is by Julia V. and Ken Bebel. Amiko Sung belongs to one of the 8 premier magical families of the world, but Amiko never needed any magic because she is the blade of the Sung clan, or was, until she's drenched in blood in the middle of the market in China, surrounded by bodies and the scent of blood and human waste as lethal perfume. Ew. The butcher of Beijing now lives a quiet life in San Francisco, importing antiquities. But when a Shinigami, a god of death itself, calls in a family blood debt, Amiko must recover the ebony gate that holds back the hungry ghosts of the Yumi underworld, or forfeit her soul as the anchor. What's a retired assassin to do but save the city by the bay from an army of the dead? So it doesn't give much, but it does have aspects that sound. And our last fantasy of the week is coming out only, in the ebook and audiobook, and this is Secret Project 3. Oh, should I say the name? No. It's Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. I highly recommend the ebook for the beautiful art of this one. In this one, we have two main characters, Yumi, who is a yokohijo for her people, where she lives in a world that's full of gardens and spirits and meditation. And then we have Nico, or the painter, and he is a nightmare painter. In his world, it's dark and some technology and just urban-y. But their worlds collide, like something locks them together very suddenly, and they have to figure out what's going on in each other's world because something is going wrong for both of them in both of their situations. And they're trying to figure out how they were connected, what did it, and how to solve these problems that have popped up. And yes, the artwork is gorgeous and beautiful. And if you like anime and manga and that feel of story, you should check this book out. That's all I'm going to say though. Yes, I did the spoiler-free review for this one too. That is already out. Okay, and our one sci-fi for the week is Splinter in the Sky by Kimi Ashingawa. It is a space opera style. The dust may have settled in the failed war of conquest between Holy Valbaran Empire and the Omarish Republic, but the last emperor's surrender means little to a lowly scribe like Intian. All she wants is to quit her day job and expand her fledgling tea business. But when her lover is assassinated and her sibling is abducted by imperial soldiers, Intian abandons her idyllic plans and weaves her tea tray up through the heart of the Valbaran capital. There, she will learn just how far she is willing to go to exact her vengeance, free her sibling, and perhaps even secure her homeland's freedom. Now, some romance. The first one is Must Love Flowers by Debbie McComber. Joan Sample is not living the life she expected. Now a widow and an empty nester, she has become, by her own admission, something of a recluse. But after another birthday spent alone, she is finally inclined to listen to her sister, who has been begging Joan to re-engage with the world. With Emmy's support, Joan gathers the courage to take some long-awaited steps, hiring someone to tame her overgrown garden, joining a grief support group, and even renting out a room to a local college student. Before long, Joan is starting to feel a little like herself again. Across town, Maggie Herbert works mornings as a barista, tending to impatient customers before rushing to an afternoon nursing class. She lives with her alcoholic father, ducking his temperamental outbursts and struggling to pay the household bills. But her circumstances brighten when she finds a room for rent in Joan's home. In the unexpected warmth of her new situation, Maggie finds a glimmer of hope for a better life. But will Maggie's budding attraction to one of her favorite customers ruin the harmony she's only recently found with Joan? Meanwhile, what is Joan to make of the mysterious landscaper who's been revitalizing her garden, a man who seems to harbor a past loss of his own? As Maggie and Joan confront difficult life choices, they draw strength from this new friendship in surprising ways, discovering in the process that found family is often the very best kind. The next one is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. Emma Torres is an optimistic wedding planner who doesn't believe in marriage, but weddings, they're amazing. Elliot Bloom is a brooding florist who hates owning a flower shop until a certain bright-eyed donut-loving workaholic shows up at his door. Oh my gosh, Cat, you need to be brushed. Once upon a time, they collaborated on events by day, and by night, Amma traced the intricate tattoos etched along his body. Then Amma shattered his heart and never spoke to Elliot again. Now they're working on an event that could make or break both their careers, except neither of them has gotten over what happened 2 years ago. Things are not helped by the two brides, who see obvious chemistry between Amma and Elliot and are determined to set them up, not knowing their complicated history. But as the wedding takes a life of its own, Amma and Elliot are about to discover that some things can survive a complete catastrophe. It says it's smart and hilarious. Forget Me Not is about two people giving themselves and love a second chance. Then our one fiction for the week is The Summer of Songbirds by Christy Woodson Harvey. Nearly 30 years ago, in the wake of a personal tragedy, June Moore bought Camp Holly Springs and turned it into a thriving summer haven for girls. But now, June is in danger of losing the place she has sacrificed everything for, and begins to realize how much she has used the camp to avoid facing difficulties in her life. June's niece, Daphne, met her two best friends, Lanier and Mary Stewart, during a fateful summer at camp. They have all helped each other through hard things, from heartbreak and loss to substance abuse and unplanned pregnancy, and the three are inseparable even in their 30s. But when attorney Daphne is confronted with a relationship from her past and a confidential issue at work becomes personal, she is faced with an impossible choice. Lanier, meanwhile, is struggling with tough decisions of her own. After a run-in with an old flame, she is torn between the commitment she made to her fiancé and the one she made to her first love. And when a big secret comes to light, she finds herself at odds with her best friend and risks losing the person she loves most. But in spite of their personal problems, nothing is more important to these songbirds than Camp Holly Springs. When the women learn their childhood oasis is in danger of closing, they band together to save it, sending them on a journey that promises to open the next chapters of their lives. Then we have more YA fiction, which is I'd Rather Burn Than Bloom by Shannon Rogers. Some girls call their mother their best friend. Marisol Martin, she could never relate. She and her mom were forever locked in an argument with no beginning and no end. Clothes, church, boys, no matter the topic, Marisol always felt there was an unbridgeable gap between them that they were perpetually shouting across, one that she longed to close. But when her mother suddenly dies, Marisol is left with no one to fight against, haunted by all the things that she both said and didn't say. Her dad seems completely lost, and worse, baffled by Marisol's attempts to connect with her mother's memory through their Filipino culture. Her brother Bernie is retreating further and further into himself, and when Marisol sleeps with her best friend's boyfriend and then punches said best friend in the face, she's left alone with nothing but a burning anger and nowhere for it to go. Wow. And Marisol is determined to stay angry. After all, there's a lot to be angry about. Her father, her mother, the world. But as a new friendship begins to develop with someone who just might understand, Marisol reluctantly starts to open up to her and to the possibility there's something else on the other side of that anger. Something more to who she is and who she could be. And our last one of the week is All the Yellow Suns by Malvika Cannon. It also says it's coming of age and it's blurb. 16-year-old Maya Krishnan is fiercely protective of her friends, immigrant community, and single mother, but she knows better than to rock the boat in her conservative Florida suburb. Her classmate Janu Zale is the polar opposite. She's a wealthy white heartbreaker who won't think twice before capsizing the boat. When Janu invites Maya to join the Pugilists, a secret society of artists, vandals, and mischief makers who fight for justice at their school, Maya descends into the world of change-making and resistance. Soon, she and Janu forge a friendship that inspires Maya to confront the challenges in her own life. But as their relationship grows romantic, painful, and twisted, Maya begins to suspect there's a whole different person beneath Janu's painted-on facade. Now, Maya must learn to speak her truth in this mysterious, mixed-up world, even if it results in heartbreak. That definitely sounds like a coming-of-age and definitely a teenager tale. Those are all the books for this week. I hope something caught your eye. It sounds intriguing. You might want to put it on a TBR now. If you enjoyed this video though and do have books that you want to put on your TBR, then maybe you'll consider subscribing and coming back for future videos like this, which we do every Monday, or any other future reviews like this one. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're finding something awesome to read today, and I'll see you next time. Bye y'all.